The night wind moved slowly through the tall grass of Isanlu village, carrying the smell of dry earth, palm oil, and old firewood. The moon hung low and red, like an eye that refused to sleep. Somewhere far away, a drum beat once, then stopped. That night, the elders said the ancestors were restless. In a small mud house at the edge of the village lived Mama Nanionga and Baba Kato, a quiet couple with bent backs and tired eyes. Their hair was grey like ash. Their hands were hard from years of farming the land near the riverlands. They had little wealth, but they had once had joy. That joy was their daughter. Her name was Zawadi. Zawadi was not born during a normal season. She came into the world on a night of thunder and strange lights. The village midwife said the wind spoke her name before her first cry. The elders burned herbs and whispered prayers because children born like that always walked between worlds. Zawadi grew fast, tall and beautiful, with skin dark and glowing like wet soil after rain. Her eyes were deep and sharp. She spoke little, but when she did, people listened. Animals followed her. Dreams came to her easily. Mama Nanionga loved her with her whole soul. Baba Kato protected her like a lion guards its last cub. But love does not stop fate. As Zawadi grew older, the village changed. A new road cut through the forest. Traders came. With them came shiny clothes, fast words, and promises that tasted sweet but left bitterness behind. One dry season, a man arrived riding a black horse. His name was Prince Mandla, son of a powerful king from the mountain lands beyond the savannah. His people were rich. His robes were heavy with gold thread. His voice was smooth like honey mixed with smoke. He saw Zawadi at the river, washing calabashes. When she looked up, the wind rose suddenly. The water rippled. The reeds bent low. Prince Mandla smiled. From that day, he did not stop watching her. The elders warned Mama Nanionga. "This man carries shadows," they said around the fire. "The mountain kings do not marry village daughters for love." But Zawadi did not listen. Love entered her like a fever. Soon, Mandla asked for her hand. The village gathered. Drums beat. Goats were slaughtered. Palm wine flowed. Mama Nanionga cried tears of fear, not joy. Baba Kato's heart was heavy like a stone in deep water. Then came the bride price. It was small. Too small. When Baba Kato spoke, Mandla's smile faded. "Old man," he said softly, "your daughter is entering a higher world. Be grateful." That was the first crack. Months passed. One morning, a messenger arrived with red dust on his feet. He carried a rolled cloth sealed with wax. It was a wedding invitation. But Mama Nanionga's name was not on it. Neither was Baba Kato's. The words were cold and sharp. "Zawadi, daughter of no one, will be wed in the mountain palace. No villagers are welcome." Mama Nanionga dropped the cloth. Her knees gave way. Baba Kato stood still, his face empty. Their daughter had cut them away. When Baba Kato went to the palace guards to ask why, he was beaten and pushed into the dirt. When Mama Nanionga cried out Zawadi's name at the river, the water stayed silent. The wedding day came. High in the mountain lands, drums thundered. Gold cloth shined. Fire torches burned bright even in daylight. Kings, queens, warriors, and nobles filled the palace yard. Spirits were invited. Ancestors were called. But something was wrong. The wind changed direction. Birds refused to land. The palace dogs howled and ran. Deep in Isanlu village, Mama Nanionga sat by the cold fire. Baba Kato stared at the ground. Then, just before sunset, the air turned heavy. The ground trembled once, softly. From the forest path came a figure. It was old Mother Safu, the blind seer who lived near the sacred Baobab. She had not walked in years, yet there she was, tapping the earth with her staff. She spoke without greeting. "The child you lost has awakened something old," she said. "The ancestors have heard the cry of rejected blood." Mama Nanionga's voice shook. "Our daughter chose shame over us." Old Mother Safu shook her head slowly. "No, she chose pride. And pride angers the spirits." That night, Baba Kato dreamed. He stood in a burning palace. Drums beat fast, then broke. Zawadi stood in red cloth, smiling, then crying blood. Behind her rose a tall woman made of shadow and fire, her eyes glowing like the moon. The woman spoke. A wedding built on Dishana will not stand. Baba Kato woke screaming. At that same moment, in the mountain palace, the drums suddenly went silent. The wind screamed. And Zawadi's big day began to fall apart. The silence after the drums stopped was heavier than any sound. In the mountain palace, guests shifted in their seats. Kings and queens looked at one another. Warriors tightened their grip on spears. Fire torches flickered, even though there was no wind. Zawadi stood at the center of the palace yard, dressed in red cloth stitched with gold. Cowrie shells circled her neck. Her face was painted with white lines of blessing. Yet her heart beat too fast. Something felt wrong. She lifted her eyes to the sky. Clouds moved quickly, forming shapes that made the elders uneasy. A cold wind passed through the palace, brushing Zawadi's skin like unseen fingers. Prince Mandla leaned close to her. "Do not be afraid," he whispered. "It is only mountain wind." But his voice trembled. Far away, in Isanlu village, Mama Nanionga sat rocking back and forth. The fire before her suddenly came alive, flames rising high without wood. Baba Kato felt pain in his chest and fell to his knees. The ancestors were walking. Back at the palace, the chief elder raised his staff to call the drums again. Before he could speak, a loud crack split the air. A palace pillar broke. Dust filled the yard. Women screamed. Children cried. The smell of old stone and fear spread quickly. "This is not normal," whispered Queen Thandi, mother of Mandla. Her eyes were sharp and worried. "Stop the ceremony." But King Zuberi stood tall and proud. "No," he said. "Nothing will stop this wedding. We have paid the spirits enough." The elder hesitated, then lifted his staff again. That was when the whispers began. Soft voices moved through the walls. Not one voice, but many. Old voices. Deep voices. Female voices filled with pain and anger. Zawadi felt her knees weaken. She heard her mother's voice calling her name. She heard her father's cough. She heard crying, her own crying, from long ago. She turned suddenly. "Did you hear that?" she asked Mandla. He shook his head too fast. "There is nothing," he said. "Ignore it." But sweat ran down his neck. From the palace gate, a guard screamed. "Spirits! Spirits are at the gate." Before anyone could stop him, the gate burst open. A strong wind rushed in, carrying red dust and the smell of burning herbs. The torches went out one by one. Darkness swallowed the palace yard. Then, light returned. But not from fire. A tall woman stood at the gate. She was dressed in ancient cloth, torn and glowing. Her skin was dark like the night sky. Her hair flowed like smoke. Her feet did not touch the ground. Every elder dropped to the earth. "It is Queen Nyasha," one whispered. "An ancestor spirit." Zawadi felt her heart tear open. She knew this spirit. She had seen her in dreams since childhood. Queen Nyasha's voice filled the palace, deep and slow. "Whose wedding is this?" she asked. No one answered. She stepped forward, and the ground cracked under invisible weight. "I smell pride," she said. "I smell shame. I smell a daughter who forgot the womb that carried her." Zawadi gasped. Tears filled her eyes. Mandla stepped in front of her. "This wedding is blessed," he said loudly. "We followed the laws." Queen Nyasha turned her glowing eyes to him. "You followed wealth," she said. "You followed power. But you broke blood." She lifted her hand. Images filled the air like smoke, Mama Nanionga crying alone, Baba Kato beaten at the palace gate, an empty fire waiting for a daughter who never came. Zawadi screamed. "Stop," she cried. "I did not mean to hurt them." Queen Nyasha looked at her with sadness. "Meaning nothing does not heal wounds," she said. "You closed your ears when love made you proud." Thunder rolled above the palace. Rain began to fall, hard and cold. Drums tried to beat again, but every drum skin tore apart. Chaos spread. Horses broke free. Guests ran. Warriors dropped weapons and fled. The palace walls shook as if something beneath the ground was waking up. King Zuberi shouted prayers. Queen Thandi wept openly. Zawadi fell to her knees in the mud. Memories rushed into her mind, her mother singing by firelight, her father carrying her on his shoulders, the river, the village drums, the simple life she had buried in shame. She crawled forward. "Forgive me," she cried to the spirit. "I forgot who I was." Queen Nyasha's voice softened. "The ancestors do not punish without warning," she said. "But the price of pride is heavy." She turned toward the palace. "Before this night ends," she said, "truth will tear down lies." The ground shook again, stronger this time. From deep below the palace came a roar. Not of an animal, but of something ancient, waking. And Zawadi realized the wedding was no longer in human hands. The glowing eyes beneath the palace did not blink. They burned like hot coals deep in the earth, ancient and patient. The ground shook as something massive shifted below, pushing against stone and roots. Queen Nyasha floated higher, her cloth moving like smoke in a storm. "The guardian has awakened," she said. "The one who punishes broken blood and false honor." A low growl rolled through the palace, vibrating in every chest. Warriors dropped their spears and ran. Queens clutched their jewels and screamed prayers. The proud mountain palace became a place of panic. Prince Mandla backed away slowly. "This is a curse," he shouted. "She brought this curse." He pointed at Zawadi. Zawadi pushed herself up from the wet ground. Her body trembled, but her eyes were clear for the first time. "No," she said weakly. "My pride did." The earth split open. From beneath the palace rose the mountain guardian, a massive being shaped from stone, roots, and old bones. Moss covered its shoulders. Fire burned in its hollow eyes. Its breath smelled of dust and time. Every living thing fell silent. The guardian looked at Zawadi. Then it spoke, its voice like grinding rock. "Daughter of Isanlu," it said. "You were called. You refused. You were loved. You denied." Zawadi stood barefoot before it, small and shaking. "I know," she whispered. "I see now." The guardian turned its head toward Prince Mandla. "And you," it said. "You fed her pride. You taught her to forget." Mandla's face twisted with rage. "She chose," he said. "I only offered her more." The guardian lifted one massive hand. "What you offered was emptiness." With a loud crack, the palace roof collapsed behind Mandla, blocking his escape. King Zuberi dropped to his knees. "Spare my son," he begged. "Take the palace, take the gold." The guardian's eyes burned brighter. "Gold does not heal Dishana," it said. Queen Thandi screamed as the ground beneath her split. Servants dragged her away just in time. Zawadi stepped forward, tears streaming. "Please," she cried. "Punish me, not them." Queen Nyasha looked at her closely. "This is your turning," she said. "Do not look away." The guardian lowered its massive face close to Zawadi. "To heal broken blood," it said, "sacrifice must be made." The words hung heavy in the air. Mandla shook his head. "No," he whispered. "No." The guardian raised its hand again. Suddenly, the ground beneath Mandla opened. Roots wrapped around his legs like snakes. He screamed as they pulled him down to his knees. Zawadi screamed too. "Stop," she cried. "This is my fault." The guardian paused. "You may choose," it said. "Remain in this world of lies. Or return to the truth you abandoned." Zawadi's mind filled with images: power, gold, palace life. Then her parents' small fire, the village drums, the river at dawn. She knew the answer. "I choose my parents," she said loudly. "I choose my roots." The wind roared. The roots tightened around Mandla. "No," he screamed. "You belong here." Zawadi looked at him with sadness, not love. "I never belonged to your pride." With a final roar, the roots dragged Mandla into the earth. The ground closed over him like a mouth. Silence followed. The mountain guardian slowly sank back into the earth. The palace walls cracked and fell, stone by stone. The proud mountain palace was breaking. Queen Nyasha turned to Zawadi. "The debt is not fully paid," she said. "Blood remembers." Zawadi's heart tightened. "What must I do now?" she asked. Queen Nyasha pointed toward the horizon. "Walk back to where you were born," she said. "Face the eyes you avoided. Only then can healing begin." Thunder rolled one last time. The storm began to fade. The palace stood broken, its power destroyed in one night. Zawadi turned away from the ruins. Barefoot, covered in mud and tears, she began her long walk back toward Isanlu village, toward the parents she had rejected, not knowing if they would accept her again. Behind her, the mountain palace collapsed completely, and the ancestors watched. Dawn came slowly to Isanlu village. The sky changed from deep black to soft gray. Birds began to sing, careful and gentle, as if waiting for permission. Smoke rose from cooking fires. The night of judgment had passed, but its weight still rested on every heart. Zawadi slept on a mat beside her parents. Her face was peaceful for the first time in many seasons. Mama Nanionga watched her closely, afraid the ancestors might take her away if she blinked. Baba Kato sat up, stronger than he had been in months. "The spirits have softened," he said quietly. But the elders were uneasy. Old Mother Safu stood near the sacred baobab tree, listening to the wind. "Not yet," she said. "The ancestors have one final lesson." As the sun rose higher, a strange stillness fell over the village. No wind moved. No bird flew. Even the river held its breath. Then the drums began. Not played by hands. Deep, slow beats rolled from the earth itself. Boom, boom. The ground at the center of the village cracked gently. From it rose a small mound of soil, glowing faintly. The villagers stepped back in fear. Queen Nyasha appeared one final time, her form softer, almost human. "This is the last truth," she said. From the soil grew a young tree. Its roots pushed above the ground, twisting and spreading where all could see them. Its leaves shone bright green. "The ancestors have judged," Queen Nyasha continued. The daughter returned. The parents forgave. The pride was broken. She turned to Zawadi. "You will plant your life here," she said. "As this tree grows, so will your wisdom." Zawadi knelt before the tree. "I understand now," she said. "I am not great because of power. I am great because of where I come from." The spirit smiled. She turned to the villagers. "Let this be remembered," she said. "A child who denies their roots invites destruction. But a child who returns with humility restores balance." The wind returned softly. Birds flew again. Queen Nyasha faded into light. Life slowly returned to normal. Years passed. Zawadi never left the village again. She farmed beside her mother. She cared for elders. She taught children stories by firelight. Her hands grew strong and her heart grew calm. The tree at the center of the village grew tall and wide. Its roots remained visible, a living reminder. Travelers who passed through Isanlu heard the story. They pointed at the tree and lowered their voices. "That is the place where pride died," they said. "And wisdom was born." Zawadi never married into kings or palaces. But she became something greater. She became whole. Moral lesson. Never be ashamed of where you come from. Pride that rejects family and roots leads to loss and destruction. True honor is found in humility, gratitude, and remembering those who gave you life. The path from the mountains to Isanlu village was long and wild. Night followed her closely, wrapping the land in dark blue shadows. The wind whispered through tall grass, calling her name again and again. "Zawadi! Zawadi!" She did not know if the voices were real or only her guilt speaking. Her feet bled. Stones cut her skin. Cold dew soaked her torn cloth. Yet she did not stop. Every step felt like a prayer, every pain a reminder of what she had broken. Above her, the moon watched silently. In Isanlu village, Mama Nanionga sat awake by the fire. She had not slept since the wedding night. Baba Kato lay weak on a mat, his breath slow and heavy. The elders had gathered quietly, sensing movement in the spirit world. "The ancestors are near," one elder whispered. The earth has not finished speaking. Suddenly, the dogs began to howl. From the forest edge, a figure appeared. A young woman, barefoot, dirty, and trembling. Is it a spirit? Someone asked. Mama Nyanyonga stood slowly. Her heart knew before her eyes did. It is my child, she said. Zawadi fell to her knees at the edge of the village. Her strength was gone. She pressed her forehead into the dust. I have returned, she whispered. I have no pride left. The villagers stood silent. Mama Nyanyonga walked forward with shaking legs. She stopped in front of Zawadi and looked down at her. The firelight showed the truth. This was no proud bride, no palace woman. This was a broken daughter. Why did you shame us? Mama Nyanyonga asked, her voice soft but heavy. Zawadi lifted her head, tears pouring. I was afraid of being small, she said. I forgot that love made me big. Mama Nyanyonga's hands trembled. Behind them, the sky darkened suddenly. Clouds gathered fast. The wind howled. Drums began to beat by themselves inside the sacred hut. The elders gasped. This is the night of judgment, old Mother Safu said, stepping forward. The ancestors demand truth. The fire flared high. The ground shook gently. A familiar glow appeared between the trees. Queen Nyasha emerged once more, her form calmer but still powerful. Daughter of Isanlu, she said to Zawadi. You have returned, but return alone is not enough. Zawadi bowed low. I accept whatever punishment remains, she said. Queen Nyasha turned to Mama Nyanyonga and Baba Kato, whose spirit now stood slightly apart from his weak body. These parents were dishonored, the ancestor said. Their blood was denied. The air grew cold. The law of the ancestors must be fulfilled. Mama Nyanyonga's eyes widened. What law? She asked fearfully. Queen Nyasha raised her hand. Only a sacrifice of truth can cleanse this wound, she said. The daughter must give up what she gained. Zawadi closed her eyes. I have nothing left, she whispered. Queen Nyasha's eyes glowed brighter. You still carry ambition, she said. You still carry desire for greatness. Zawadi's chest tightened. Queen Nyasha stepped closer. You will never marry into power, she said. You will live a simple life. You will serve the village you once rejected. A deep silence followed. This was not death, but it was loss. Zawadi bowed deeply. I accept, she said without hesitation. The ground stopped shaking. The wind softened. The drums slowed. Queen Nyasha turned to Mama Nyanyonga and Baba Kato. Will you accept her back? She asked. Not as a queen, but as a daughter. Mama Nyanyonga knelt and pulled Zawadi into her arms. My womb never rejected her, she said through tears. Baba Kato lifted his weak hand. Come home, he whispered. Light exploded across the village. The ancestors began to sing low, deep songs that moved through bones and trees. The pain in Baba Kato's chest eased. His breath grew stronger. Queen Nyasha smiled gently. The debt is nearly paid, she said. She looked at Zawadi one last time. Dawn will decide the rest. Slowly, the spirit faded. The fire returned to normal. The night grew quiet. Zawadi lay between her parents, exhausted and crying, as the first light of morning began to rise. But deep in the forest, something still watched. The final judgment had not yet spoken. Rain fell like spears from the sky. The palace yard was no longer a place of joy. Mud covered the gold cloth. Broken drums floated in pools of water. Fire torches lay dead on the ground, smoke rising weakly like tired spirits. Zawadi knelt in the mud, shaking. Prince Mandla stood frozen, his proud face now pale. His crown slipped from his head and fell with a soft sound into the dirt. Queen Nyasha hovered above the ground, her form glowing brighter with every thunder strike. Listen, she said, her voice echoing from the palace walls. This night is not about marriage. It is about truth. The elders crawled forward on their knees. One by one, they pressed their foreheads to the ground. Great ancestor, the chief elder cried, what must be done to calm the spirits? Queen Nyasha pointed toward Zawadi. The child must remember her roots, she said. And the lie must be spoken aloud. Zawadi lifted her head slowly. Rain mixed with tears on her face. Her lips trembled. What lie? She whispered. The spirit's eyes burned brighter. You said you were a daughter of no one. A loud gasp moved through the crowd. Zawadi's chest tightened. Her ears rang. She remembered the words on the invitation. She remembered how proud she felt writing them. How powerful. How free. Shame cut deep. Yes, Zawadi said softly. I did. The wind screamed through the palace. The palace gates slammed shut by unseen hands. Queen Nyasha turned to King Zuberi and Queen Thandi. You allowed this, she said. You welcomed a wedding built on broken blood. King Zuberi stepped forward, his voice shaking. We wanted a clean union, he said. No village shame. The ground cracked beneath his feet. There is no shame in roots, Queen Nyasha roared. The only shame is forgetting them. Suddenly, the air changed. The rain stopped. A deep silence fell. From the center of the palace yard, the mud began to move. Guests screamed and ran back as the earth rose slowly, forming the shape of a large bowl. Inside it, clear water appeared, glowing faintly. An ancestral pool. Only elders had seen such a thing in stories. Queen Nyasha spoke again. This water shows truth, she said. Step forward, daughter of Isanlu. Zawadi hesitated. Prince Mandla grabbed her arm. Do not, he whispered fiercely. This is madness. She looked at him. For the first time, she saw fear, not love. She pulled her arm away. Zawadi stepped into the glowing water. The moment her feet touched it, images exploded into the air. The village appeared. The small mud house. Mama Nanyonga singing by firelight. Baba Kato laughing softly as he fixed a broken tool. Young Zawadi running barefoot through tall grass. The crowd watched in silence. Then the images changed. They showed Zawadi turning her back on the village. Ignoring her mother's calls. Laughing when Mandla mocked her parents. Writing the invitation with cold hands. Zawadi screamed and fell into the water. I was wrong, she cried. I was blind. The water darkened. From the surface rose two figures. Mama Nanyonga. Baba Kato. Not their bodies, but their spirits. The crowd gasped in terror. Zawadi reached out, sobbing. Mother. Father. Mama Nanyonga's spirit looked at her with deep sadness, not anger. Why did you erase us? She asked gently. Baba Kato spoke with pain in his voice. Were we not enough? Zawadi collapsed fully into the pool. I wanted to belong, she cried. I wanted power. I wanted respect. Queen Nyasha's voice cut through the air. Power without honor destroys the child who carries it. The spirits of her parents slowly faded back into the water. Zawadi lay still, shaking. Prince Mandla stepped back, his face dark with anger. This is not what I agreed to, he said. End this foolishness. He turned to leave. The palace gates would not open. The ground shook violently. From beneath the palace came a loud crack, stone breaking, roots tearing, something ancient rising. Queen Nyasha raised both hands. The mountain remembers, she said. It remembers every broken promise. A deep roar echoed again. This time, the palace walls split. Guests screamed and fled into the rain-soaked night. Zawadi crawled out of the pool, weak and broken. She looked up at Queen Nyasha. What must I do? She whispered. The ancestor spirit looked down at her. Face what you ran from, she said. Or lose everything you gained. Behind them, the palace floor collapsed further. And from the darkness below, glowing eyes opened.